So as I was telling you that, this whole thing is also, I'm going to talk in terms of, how it is going to help you in your corporate careers. And specifically, I'm going to give you my own example because, and you will find, it relevant in terms of certain aspects that we're going to discuss. So where are we? We are here. We've done, we've actually, we are not here. We are actually here in session 7. Okay, my apologies. We're basically in session 7, so taking your startup to market, selling to real customers. And today's takeaways is that we will revisit the success metrics. You remember the success metrics we saw last time? Okay, before I move forward, let me ask you a couple of questions before I move. How many of you could grasp the lean canvas last time? If yes, raise your, if yes, all right, give me a thumbs up. We did lean canvas last time. How many of you were able to grasp it in its entirety? Okay, good, Bharti. What about Vivek, Sri Harsha, Rajinder? All right, wonderful. Okay, good, good. Good. What about you, Sri Harsha? You were there last time? All right, good. All right. So, lean canvas, and let me build it up. We started with the problem statement, right? We validated the problem statement. While validating the problem statement, we talked about, yeah, thanks a lot, Sri Harsha. We talked about the customer persona, right? When we talked about problem statement canvas, customer persona, we also talked about the Kano model. And Kano model was basic attribute, performance attribute, and delight attribute. We spoke about that. Then we did some, stuff around disruption, innovation, and all of that. Thereafter, we went into saying that, what is the value proposition, okay? And what is, first of all, how do we go ahead and do the MVP, the minimum viable product? And we said that, minimum viable product is not good enough. We need to have a minimal lovable product, right? Then we went ahead and said that, okay, what is value proposition? So I'd asked you to go through value proposition, which you genuinely went ahead and said that you had not got the time to go through it. So I walked you through it last time. Value proposition canvas had this round circle on one side and square on the other side. The round circle was all about what the customers wants to get done, all right, and the pains that he or she would really want to get rid of, and the gains that he or she would love to have, right? Do you remember this? We talked about this. Is very important. We talked about this, that you got the customer perspective on one side. If you remember it, give me a thumbs up. In the value proposition canvas, we talked about the customer side and the product side. The customer side, we talked about jobs to be done or stuff that the customer wants to get done, the need that the customer has, all right, and the pains that they would like to alleviate and gains that they would love to have. Very good. So, while if that is on the customer side, we have the product development side on the other side, the square box, wherein we say, all right, the customer wants these jobs to be done. So those are my, basic ones on my Kano model, and the performance, elements on my Kano model. But the customer also wants something extra, right? That is what the gains that they want to have. And they also want to get rid of a couple of things from the existing solution that they have, which is the pains that they would like to alleviate, which will define what are the features and what are the benefits and all of that. And I also said that what are the gains that you would like to, incorporate as form of features and benefits in your product, and the pains that you would want to alleviate for the customer through features of the product may not be incorporated right at stage 1. You should go ahead and develop a product development calendar. And with that product development calendar, you can figure out what you are going to launch when. For example, which is the latest iPhone model going on? And which is the Windows version going on? Can anyone type? 14 Pro Plus, yeah, and Windows 11. Very good. So now tell me, Bill Gates, do you think he launches 11 and then waits and then starts working on whichever is the next one, Windows X or Windows 13 or Windows 15? No. In fact, 11 was something which was in production, in development about 4 years back. Similarly, iPhone 15 is something which is iPhone 15 or some other number that they've got, which they've already been working on. So all that I'm trying to say is that their product development calendar also gets established with the pains and gains which customers want to have and what they pick up from time to time. Do we remember this in the VPC, in the value proposition canvas? After this, we went to figuring out the difference between a business plan and a business model. So which one is a framework, business plan or business model? Anyone? Which one is a framework? And so business plan is a single page framework, Vivek. A business model is a single page framework, and business plan is the entire story of how it will be done. Okay, remember we had discussed this last time when Sagar was also trying to say something like this. So business model is the single sheeter, which we did. Yeah, all right, very good. So business model is that, and business plan is something. In fact, I am in such a big bloody dilemma. All right, I made an idea pitch. Okay, on Sunday. This Sunday, I made an idea pitch. Now, the guy on the other side went ahead and asked me a couple of things and all that, and said, "Where is your value proposition?" So I explained to him the value proposition. Now, this guy is another investor from whom I don't need investment. All right, he is telling me that he wants to see a business plan. Now, I have not made a business plan for like donkey's years. So since yesterday evening, I've been writing to every Tom, Dick and Harry telling me, "Boss, can you give me a template for a business plan?" Because I have not made a business plan for I don't know how many years. I've only been functioning on a business model canvas. Okay, so you need to know both, but the business model canvas is the one which is used. So what I did for creating the business plan, I went ahead and created the VPC. I went ahead and created the business model. All right, and now that both of these are ready, I am now very easily elaborating upon each of those elements and making my business plan. Okay, so that's very important for you to know. So we did this last time. Then we did the business model canvas, which had 9 boxes. All right, so I'll come to this takeaways later on, but I just wanted to walk you through that. Where are we? Why are we not moving? Okay, so this is the business model, the lead canvas that we use for creating the business model. All right, what did we do? We had the customer. We said the first block is customer segment. So who are our customer? Who are our consumers? Who are our early adopters? You remember we used this term early adopters last time, right? Now for each of these customer segment, we have a problem. We have associated problems. So that means, so the ones mentioned in the yellow posted are the parents. Now the way that the parents look at the problem is again mentioned in yellow on the leftmost box, but the ones in the other color, which I think is pink. Okay, I'm colorblind by the way. So pink, all right, it says students. So students have a different take on the problem, all right, and which is mentioned in the pink one in the problem box. Now, once you know the segments and the problem, what are you looking at is you're looking at the solution and the unique value proposition. So what is the unique value proposition and what is the solution that you have? So they figured that out. While writing that, they also figured out their unfair advantage. Now, I went ahead and said, last time, if you remember, that patent pending is not really an unfair advantage. But this is the deck. This is the business, this is the lean canvas of the entrepreneur. So I am no one to question, but I am supposed to go ahead and tell them that your patent pending AR/VR headset is an unfair advantage till such time no one else goes ahead and patents it before your patent gets approved, right? Then how will it be unfair advantage? We also talked about the fact that unfair advantage could also be, let's say, for example, if Bharati's brother is a Michelin star chef, all right, or Parul's brother is a sister is a Michelin star chef, and she comes and joins Parul's cafe or restaurant. That itself is going to be an unfair advantage till this time, of course, Parul's sister decides to go on her own or leave her to come and join my restaurant. Okay, so that is an unfair advantage. We also then talked about channel, and where we said channel is all about not just about distribution of product, but it is also the channels for accepting the barter or the money, and it is also about channels of communication, which is how do you reach out to the customer and how does the customer sends you feedback. So channels are not just channels of distribution, but also channels of the money flow. Channels are also about communication both ways. One is how you reach out to people, and then how people reach out to you in form of their feedback or whatever, Thereafter, we said that what are the, two other important things. First of all, what are your revenue streams? Are you aware about your revenue streams? That means, do you know where all you'll get the money from? Whether you'll get it from, one-time purchase or repeat purchase or subscription model based or freemium model based, whatever, I don't know. All right, what are the revenue streams? That does not matter whether we are talking about, an online business or an offline business, but, subscription models work in both offline and online models. CultFit also has a subscription model, and so does, any of your online, products that you buy have an annual subscription model. All right. The next thing that you need to know is whether there are cost structures in place. I mean, yeah, of course, you got money coming in, you got your revenue streams and all that. But if the cost structures don't support, then it doesn't work out. For example, today Parul in her restaurant has her sister working, all right, who might be a shareholder, all right, or might be working for free, all right, because she wants to help out Parul, and she's a Michelin star chef. But Paco has a restaurant, and Paco wants to, Paco says that, if Parul has a Michelin star chef, I'll also have one. Only to realize that while everything works fine, but I have to, pay, let's say, a crore to a Michelin star chef, which I may not be able to afford. So the cost structures don't support, right? And after all of this, we have the final key metrics. And key metrics, we said, is not just about what is your sale, what is your, what is your bottom line, all right, how many units you've sold and all that, but also other things which are to be kept in mind, especially when you are a startup, which are, all right, what's your net promoter score or NPS, all right, what is your, how many sales are you, how many leads are you getting, how many conversions are happening, right? And, whether people are dropping off from the session, So those are key metrics. So key metrics are not just about revenue, but they're also about other aspects of the business, which probably would give a better understanding of how your business is moving, and which may not be the case in case of sales. All right. There are n number of, if you know some very intelligent, fast moving consumer goods sales guys in your fraternity or some of your uncles or whatsoever, ask them, how the FMCG sales guys turn around the entire metrics so that they never, are questioned for sales not happening or whatsoever. Yeah. So that's very important. But key metrics is very, very important. Now, my question to you right now is, with this 20 minutes of recap, are you now completely clear in terms of lean canvas and VPC? Give me a thumbs up. Parul, Rajender, Sriharsha, Vivek, Bharti, give me a thumbs up. All right, clear, good. Rajender, good. Sriharsha, good. And as I had mentioned, you can always go to canvanizer.com to get a blank template which you can work upon. Why only Sriharsha and Rajender? Parul, Vivek, Bharti, are you not clear about the lean canvas or the value proposition canvas? Very good, very good, very good. Parul? Okay. Parul, are you there? Just asking. Okay, all right. Parul says she doesn't want to answer. Okay, all right. Vivek Verma is typing. Okay, now we go to market. Okay, now go to market essentially has a couple of your voice was robotic, so miss that part. Which one was robotic?
There might be some network issue sometime. When there is a network issue, he might have.
Okay,
now it is
but
clear.
Bharti, are you clear now? Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, all right, okay. I have a robot inside me, by the way, but that's okay. All right, so go to market. Now, go to market essentially has some key elements that you should keep in mind. Okay, and I'm putting it up on the screen. I want you to take a picture of this and keep it. Why? Because go to market has these 5 elements: generate awareness, acquire customers, increase revenue, build brand equity, gain market share. Nowhere does it say get ready for getting funded. Okay, it's very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. It is not about getting funded. It is about how will you hit the market. And as they say in Hindi, and someone told this to me on Sunday while he was asking me about my business plan, and I really loved what he said. In retail, they say, "Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai." Have you all understood? It's in Hindi, very simple Hindi. Whatever is visible gets sold. Then they say, "Jo zyada dikhta hai, wo zyada bikta hai." Whatever is seen more gets sold more. All right. So, how do you do the placement in the aisle, placement in the store, merchandising, and all of that? जो ज़्यादा दिखता है, वो ज़्यादा बिकता है. So these 2 statements we always knew. But this guy told me, जो बिकता है, वो टिकता है, which is so bloody true. The one who sells survives. You cannot survive by just bullshitting your way through and moving from one funding to the other. Yes, you would see there are some companies who've done it, but don't take them as your guide. Don't do that. Okay, there are very, very, very big companies, all right, who've been highly valued with a negative cash flow. Doesn't work that way. That happens 1 in a million cases, or at least 1 in a 10,000 cases. Don't use that as your source of motivation. Please don't do that. Okay. Remember, जो बिकता है वही टिकता है. Okay. So go to market is all about जो कैसे बेचे. भैया बेचे का है, कैसे बेचे? How do we sell? How do we reach out to the market? Okay. I'm reiterating this not because you won't know why, but I'm reiterating it because that is where most of the people go wrong. They go wrong because they feel कि भैया सब कुछ कर दिया, प्रोडक्ट बना दिया, ऑलराइट, चैनल तैयार कर दिया, अब सब अपने आप हो जाएगा. अपने आप कुछ नहीं होता. Nothing happens on their own. Yeah, everything needs to be worked upon. And I'm sorry, I'm using a little bit of Hindi and in English, but I'm sure it's my emotions coming out very strongly. I find a lot of people floundering in this area. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go back. So out here, why I'm showing you this screen once again is because at the end of the lean canvas, the ninth block is what? Key metrics, right? This exercise starts from key metrics. Okay. So what are the key metrics that we saw? The key metrics that we saw, all right, were monthly recurring revenue, monthly average revenue per account, revenue per growth, revenue growth rate, daily active users, monthly active users, CAC or customer acquisition cost, cost per lead, blah, 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 blah. All right, we saw this last time. So I just wanted to, jog your memory, and that's why I'm showing you the same screen. But basically, we saw this. The question is now that our AR/VR company put up these success metrics. They said that they want to ensure that there are at least 200 new leads every day. The CAC should be less than 100 rupees. CAC is customer acquisition cost. Okay. Conversion rate. So like if they've got 200 leads, then out of those 200, they are saying that at least about 8 people should be converted. All right. Revenues, they're looking at 4 lakh per month. Expenses, 7 lakh per month. Cash flow negative. Okay. DAU 200 plus, content consumed 60% plus, NPS is 70 plus. NPS is Net Promoter Score. And if you remember what Chandan had mentioned last time, Net Promoter Score is a measure of whether your customer, what is the likelihood of your customer to come back and buy your product once again, product or service once again. Okay, of course, there are other success metrics which this person has not used, for example, customer lifetime value and so on and so forth, but it is not applicable here. What is applicable is this success metric. Okay, now why I'm showing you this is because that how do we ensure that these success metrics are going to work out? I'm going the other way around. Okay, be very careful. The lean canvas ended with a success metric, right? Now, success metric will only become success. I mean, we will only have this picture available if we have the marketing and sales happening, if the finances are in control, if the team is in place, if the product is in place, right? So metrics tell us if it's all working well. We have mentioned this earlier also. That is the reason why it was the 9th block, right? So why it was the 9th block? Because metrics comes at the end. And for the metrics to tell us that everything is working well, all right, we need to have the product in place. So they had written it this way, that the product, complete digital content for classes 8, production quality AR/VR headsets, parents dashboard with 6 metrics, adaptive quizzes for about 100 plus topics is what they had defined as a part of their value proposition canvas, left hand side square box, which said, this is what I'm going to give. Finances, we had talked about, very briefly about finances, and what we talked about last time was that your capital cost or startup cost, we need to keep that at the minimum, move most of them into fixed costs. And when it comes to fixed costs, we should try and move most of the fixed costs to variable costs, so that, and why variable cost? Because variable cost is based on number of units sold. And if your unit economics are in place and they are working fine, then in that case, your finances will also be fine. Basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find out, do you have the runway to move forward? Okay. Now, if you look at the founder's contribution here, it is 20 lakhs. All right. Seed funding is about 10 lakhs. So 30 lakhs. Monthly burn is about 3 lakhs. That means every month they are burning 3 lakh rupees. It is not about loss. It's not about, they're using a very simple terminology. What they're saying is, Baba, at the end of the month, you start, beginning of the month, you had 30 lakhs. End of the month, how much do you have? I am not bothered about future earnings, depreciation, all right, some arbitrage here, there. How does it matter to you and me like entrepreneurs, boss? At the end, that is a balance sheet case. Those are accounting standards, which will go ahead and, make me look good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. And that's the CA's job. But between you and me, if we have to run a bloody business, boss, if you have to run a business, we are very clear about the fact that, boss, I have got 30 lakhs today. I am burning 3 lakhs every month. I am not having any income. All right. So basically, if I'm burning 3 lakhs every month, and hopefully this 3 lakhs stays constant, then I have 10 months of survival. That means within 10 months, I should be getting not an order book, but I need to have money coming in. My dear friends, don't forget this. This is where most people go wrong. They think that they are going to build something. Oh, Sagar is here. Hi, Sagar. All right. So they think they are going to build something, but it does not work. What works is if it sells. Now, Chandan was, I was discussing with Chandan earlier in the afternoon today. Okay, and Chandan said that he was speaking to an entrepreneur. All right, a startup. And that guy went ahead and said, boss, first of all, I need 5,000 square foot of office space. So Chandan asked him why. So this guy, without even answering Chandan's question, went ahead to say, I need my cabin here and I need all of this, furniture here. Then I need to have one sales head. Then I need to have, the sales head will need 2 sales managers. The 2 sales managers will need three sales executives. All right. And this is the sales head's room. This is where the sales managers will sit. This is the conference room. This, that. What are you trying to do, boss? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to run a business or are you trying to run a fashion show? And fashion show or a show-off show, not a fashion show. Sorry, my mistake. Show-off show. You are an entrepreneur. You know the money that you have. You know the money that you're burning. Anyways, I am not happy with the idea of burning at all. All right. But there are businesses where you have got to burn. All right. I'm not getting into that debate right now. So remember, जो बिकता है वही टिकता है, in the typical tone of Namo. All right. Then you've got a marketing and sales. Marketing and sales is all about, what are those things that we're looking at, which will tell us the metrics. So do we have a responsive website? If my business requires a website, do we have a responsive website? If my customers read e-brochures, do I have e-brochures? If they don't read e-brochures, if my customers are the ones who would rather, have a pamphlet, then are those pamphlets there? If my customers are those which neither read pamphlets nor look at websites, but refer to YouTube videos, do I have YouTube videos? Let me give you an example. I have told you, that I'm working on an agri startup. So in the last couple of weeks, I've also started working on a food startup because of the 2 startups going on parallelly. And I don't know how will I manage, but I'm there. Okay, I'm doing it. So now the agri guys, okay, they don't look at websites. They don't look at Google. They don't read newspapers. Local newspaper, local language newspaper, fine. But otherwise, no. Pamphlets are of no use. So the only other thing, I'll come to that, Sriharsha. Hold on. So the only other thing was that, I go ahead and conduct, sessions for the farmers to tell them about my product and so on and so forth. I have recently found out that today, even those are not working. Those are working, but those which work even better is in case you have YouTube videos. Because supposedly, the farmer janta has gone ahead and got hooked onto YouTube. They learn entire agri mechanisms on YouTube. So, marketing and sales, if not an updated responsive website and an e-brochure, do you have your YouTube videos ready? In case you have a website and you need to engage your readers and talk about it, this person has said that 20 plus blog entries per month. I would say, depending upon the business, you may have YouTube, you may have podcast. All right. This person is saying one daily, activity on Insta, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it is. Database of 20,000 emails whom I'm going to bombard. All right, with the hope that someone will look at it. Zoho CRM. I don't know if you need Zoho CRM or not. All right. But yeah, if this person is saying so, I am respecting it. All right. Then we said discount of 10 to 30%. That's the go-to market strategy. But I'm just saying that we need to keep that in mind. All right. So now when it comes to team, now Sriharsha, you've talked about team. Now team, my question, not my question, my suggestion to all my fellow entrepreneurs is that, boss, don't build a team because you need because in when we were young, we used to have a TV called Onida. Has anyone heard about the TV Onida? Onida. All right. Now Onida, Bharti is saying several people are typing. So I'm sure you heard about it. Okay. So Onida. What was the tagline of Onida? What was the tagline of Onida? Neighbors envy, owners pride. Very good. Very good. Jealous. Yeah. Boss, you don't have to be neighbors envy, owners pride. Neighbor has got 5 sales guys. I must also have it. Don't do that. Your sales team has to be high on variable, low on fixed cost. Number one. That does not mean that you need to get your uncle to do the sales job. All right, because he'll come for free. Okay, that also does not mean that you should hire your best friend because he's my best friend. No, I need to get him a job. You don't need to go ahead and hire your best friend's brother, to man the reception. First of all, whether you need the reception or not, and secondly, so for example, I was once in Hong Kong and I went in for a meeting. This guy said, "Come up to suite number so and so, so and so, and press the bell." I was not used to the idea. I'm talking about this meeting was happening in 2005, 4. Okay, I'd actually gone for a holiday to Hong Kong, and someone wanted to meet up with me. So I only had my son that time, not my daughter. So my son and my wife waited in the coffee shop in the same building downstairs, and I went up. And plain, there's nothing written, just in a small, letters, the name written, and there was a bell there. I rang the bell, and someone asked, who's there? Who would you want to meet? I said, I want to meet so and so, so and so. All right, Stuart Elliott was the name of the guy, and someone came, opened the door, and said, Stuart sits in that room at the corner. Okay, I went there. So I didn't respond, but the fact of the matter is, Stuart was the managing director of the firm, and there were some 45, 50 people working in that office, sitting in that office. Can you believe it? And they did not have a reception. They did not have a reception. Interestingly. But don't ask me the fact that, who rings the bell, who answers it, and all that. I didn't know that, but I'm just saying that there was no receptionist. So my question is, and I had a very recent argument, whether we are stuck by a colonial mindset that we need to have some 35 people working for us, then only things will move. So to answer your question, Sriharsha, infrastructure is not a necessity. I and you both agree to that. But should we look at a team setup at least at a basic level? My question is, we should look at not a basic level team. I would not go by that. I would say, what are your sales targets? Which areas are you going to go to? And for that, what is the sales team that you need? All right. And therefore, sell accordingly. Get the team accordingly. But let me give you another idea, Sriharsha, and tell me if I'm wrong. I told you, CapEx needs to move to fixed cost, and fixed cost needs to move towards variable cost. Right? And what I said was that your sales team, in the initial days, you should focus more on variable component than fixed component. Do you know that there are companies, especially in fast-moving consumer good distribution, all right, in the rural market as well as in the urban market, where there are entire organizations which only do sales and marketing. They don't own the product. They don't call the product their own. So there is, let's say, a Sriharsha, Nalamili, all right, who produces soaps. Just giving an example, okay? So manufactures soaps and body lotion and stuff like that. Now, Sriharsha does not have a team, or may have a very small team in to service, let's say, Belgaum, because let's say Sriharsha is based out of Belgaum. All right, has a small team to take care of Belgaum, but Sriharsha wants to, expand. So what does Sriharsha do? Sriharsha gets in touch with these organizations who work on complete variable model to go ahead and sell your soap. Now the important part out here is that if you had a sales team, you would have paid them a salary and you would have paid them an incentive, which is a variable component, which is based on their number of soaps sold or whatever number of boxes sold, and that would lead to a certain cost per soap. So what these organizations do, these sales and marketing organizations, they go ahead and ask for a little more than what your cost of having a team would be, right? So let's say, for example, if a soap is costing $100, I'm giving an example. Let's say your cost of sales, which is your cost of sales guy, the cost of incentive, all right, cost of distribution, this, that, everything is $7. All right. Now, maybe these guys come in on, let's say, 10 rupees. I'm giving you an example. Okay. Maybe these sales guys, the sales company guys, they come in and they say, Sriharsha, I'm going to sell your product, but for every soap bar I sell, you are going to pay me 14 rupees. And if I sell more than 100 in a week's time, you are going to pay me 2 rupees extra per soap bar. Now, Sriharsha may go ahead and say that, boss, how does it work out, boss? But out here, the question is, you're not carrying the overhead. Right? You're not carrying the overhead, and that is a very big saving for you. So tomorrow, if you have to cut your sales team, if the team was on your payroll, it would have been difficult. But out here, because it's an outsourced sales team, you can go ahead and you might include that as a part of your agreement that you would have signed, that I will at the most give you 1 month's time to get you to disengage from you. So there are multiple models which have to, but all of these will lead to the metrics that we are referring to. So now that you've looked at these metrics and this is what is there, I'm going to talk about, before I get into very specific GTM strategy and some 6-7 points that I wanted to share about that, I'm going to very quickly, all right, take you through 4 aspects, key aspects, which you got to keep in mind if you really are going to go ahead and get ready to sell. All right. One is thank you, Shears. One is legal compliances. Okay. I'm going to run through them very quickly. The idea is not to make you a specialist on legal and compliance issues, but to put those points in your mind so that you can take a note of it and do your extra studies and figure it out in terms of how you're going to go about it. This session is not about going into those kind of depths. So legal compliances, very quickly, legal compliances, you got to keep in mind, formation of legal entity is important. Limited liability corporation, LLC, as they say, LLP, limited liability partnership, regular partnership, private limited company, sole proprietorship company. One thing which is missing out here is one-person company or OPC. Now, each of these legal entities have some advantages and disadvantages. Okay, you can figure that. I'm sorry. So, sorry, that was my son's phone, I think. All right. So each of these legal entities have a pros and a con. Now, to figure that out, you just need to you just need to go and do a Google on the advantages and disadvantages of various legal entities in the Indian business environment. Just that. All right, or something like that. And you will get a complete table on Google, not on ChatGPT. All right. So that's very important because, for example, I'll tell you so. And a one-person company is like a private limited company, but unlike in a private limited company where you need two people, here only one person is sufficient. But when you go to take loans, okay, so and I was speaking about Mudra loan, I think 2-3 sessions back. So I spoke to the Bank of Baroda guys and the Canara Bank guys on Friday, okay, and the Bank of Baroda people, funny, way of looking at it. So there's a food venture in which my spouse and me both are going to be in. The Bank of Baroda guys said that how can you form a private limited company? So I said, why can't we form it? They said, no. We need to see whether you will be able to give time or not because you're working for, So I don't know if you know it or not. I actually don't. I actually work for HCL Technologies. Okay. So you work for HCL Technologies and you're at such a senior level. All right. Would you, how would you do that? I said, how does it matter? So she says, does your wife have experience? I said, yeah, my wife has tremendous amount of experience with food. All right. No. Does she have specific experience around this kind of food? That now the question out here is, why do you want to do that? So then I said, what other format do you want? So she said, you can do a one-person company. I said, how can I do a one-person company? I'm working for another company. You only said that you cannot entertain me. So be very clear in terms of what it is, because if I was not very clear about these legal entities, she would have taken me for a ride. On the other hand, when I went to Canara Bank went ahead and then I said, doesn't matter, whatever structure you have, it's okay. But it is, believe you me, it's got nothing to do with Canara Bank or Bank of Baroda or HDFC or whatsoever. Forget about HDFC, they will not even get the loan. These guys. Why? Because it is completely dependent upon that individual. Later on, which is yesterday, I kept on finding out, speaking to various people. Okay. Yeah, it's all on the manager of the branch. That manager that I was speaking to, her husband used to work for HCL Technologies. And he had a very bad exit. Now I figure out that when I went there to introduce and said I am from HCL Technologies, she would have shut her mind there and then itself. That इसके साथ तो काम करना ही नहीं है. इसकी कंपनी ने मेरे हस्बैंड के साथ बुरा अत्याचार किया था. He was, whatever. So remember, it depends upon the manager of the branch, as Chandan is saying. But for you to be able to counter them, you should know what the legal entity means. The other best person to help you out to know this is your chartered accountant friend. Okay. And who's the chartered accountant here? Vivek is a chartered accountant, right? Yeah, Vivek is typing. He's a chartered accountant. Catch hold of him. All right. They have been legally authorized to do all kind of, good things to people's balance sheet. Founders agreement, very important. And I have literally, in one of my ventures, I was literally thrown out because I did not have the right founders agreement. I did not have any founders agreement. I have no qualms in accepting all of this. These are mistakes that I made. And I don't want you to make that mistake. Okay. Going back to the legal entity, one more thing which I forgot. All right. One of the biggest traps that you will always fall into, which is people will come and tell you that, if you're in the social business, people will come and tell you, you open up a trust. All right. If you open up a trust, you can get government funding. Bullshit. Doesn't work that way. Or you open up a trust and you will not have to pay taxes. Bullshit. Does not work that way. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Reach out to Vivek in case you want some answers. But it is not as simple as that. It is not as simple as saying that if you're a farmer, you're going to, you can survive on not paying any taxes. Doesn't work that way. Okay. There are variety of things. GST, very important. You need to understand all right, what GST is all about. I just came to know recently, and Vivek, what is it called? Commissioning, right? GST commissioning to 5%. So the story is that if you are selling, let's say, mobile phones, okay? If you're selling mobile phones, and let's say it attracts 18% GST, so you sell mobile phones, you collect GST or not, you pay GST, of course. The GST payment of GST is your liability. Collection of the GST from the customer is up to you. You don't want to collect it, that's your bloody problem. Okay. Now, when you do this, then let's say when you are buying these mobile phones from someone, you are also paying GST. Now, that GST and the GST that you are paying, they tend to offset each other. Okay. But there is another scheme of the government, and that's what I was asking from Vivek. Vivek, what is it called? Commissioning, no? Or something. Wherein you will not get the input credit. But insofar as GST is concerned, you will only have to pay 5%. Okay. So I didn't know about this. Okay. This I came to know very recently, when my CA, or who very casually asked me that, Paco, are you going composition? Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vivek. I never knew that you could do something like this, that you don't get the GST credit. Then why is it important? Because the plant and machinery that you buy, you're going to pay GST on it. If you're going to pay GST on it, that credit, you need to have that. So there are multiple things that your CA will go and tell you that you don't need, let's say, GST till about 20 lakhs, or cases of services 40 lakhs. If you don't need GST, don't take GST. All right. But when you're about to, when you're at 18 lakhs, you then cross over. And when you cross over, that is the time when you take the GST and you do composition. Okay, so a whole lot of things will happen. But for all of this, you need to know what it is. Now, Vivek, when you ask me how to prepare founders agreement, what should it include? It's as simple as going to Google and asking for it. But remember one thing, and Vivek, you would know, a lot of us would not know. I didn't know that being a director and being a shareholder are two different things, right? In a private limited company. Now, people don't understand this, that being a director and being a shareholder is different. Okay, so about who's put in the money and who is on the board of directors. And these are small little things, but they matter a lot. So when you're getting a founder or a co-founder, now what are the terms? Like a prenuptial agreement which you form because of for your marriage. Some people do, the rich guys do, or not you and me. But when it comes to founders and when they segregate, all right, that is a very, very bad situation. You know what happened? And I'll give you a very small incident. And I know that we are already at 6 minutes past 8. But let me tell you this, because this is very important. Yeah, to be a director, you don't need to be a shareholder. Absolutely right. I didn't know all of this. I only came to know about this when I got a slap on my back. So I had a co-founder with me in one of my ventures, and that venture was doing very good. Okay, my monthly wage bill itself was about 35 lakhs. So you can imagine how much of revenue. And we were a revenue generating organization right from day one. We were completely bootstrapped. We had no debt, nothing. All right. But yeah, bootstrapped, and what I was left with was only straps, not even the boot. Okay. My co-founder had not invested one single pipe. Okay. Sweat, equity, and all that shit went, all that happened. When things went from bad to worse, and I did not have money even to pour fuel into my car, then I sold the car. And I had a very small car and a very large car. I used to have a Ford Endeavor, all right, and I used to have a Mercedes, and I used to have a Nano. Don't ask me how a Nano landed up, but situation was this, that I had to sell off my Mercedes, I had to sell off my Ford Endeavor, and I was back to a Nano. Not back, I went into a Nano. I'd never driven the Nano before that. When I did not even have money to pour petrol into my Nano, and I did not have money to take the shared auto to the railway station while I was staying in Bombay. That is the time when my co-founder went ahead and said that can he, like this is not working out, Paco, either you run the company, all right, or let's go ahead and find out, either you run the company on your own, or let's go ahead and find out if someone is ready to buy. And I said, no one is going to buy right now. We are in a very bad state. And this person went ahead and said that then in that case, what should we do? I said, then in that case, what should we do? In the sense, I have not earned a pie for the last 4 years. uh, I have no money left. All right. My spouse was also a co-founder. All right. So we had three co-founders. We were three co-founders. So I said, we both don't have any source of income. You at least have, your spouse taking care of you. All right. So in this case, I think you should go ahead and take the organization and run it. All right. Because I need to take up a job, because otherwise, we don't have anything to run. I mean, we did not have money to pay my child's school fees. I remember my father had gifted him a pair of shoes, and it got stolen the same night, the first night itself. And he was crying, and I could not buy him. I could not afford to buy him. All right, that's a different thing that my father bought another pair and gave it to him, but I could not afford even a 3,000 rupee shoe. Now that time, so I told this to my co-founder. My co-founder went ahead and said, "Okay, all right, Paco, you're insisting so much, so I should do that." And I genuinely felt that he's also in some amount of shit, and I was anyways in a lot of shit because I had lost all my money. Nothing. I had nothing. No money left. So I said, "Okay, I mean, nothing can be done." Then a couple of weeks later, he came to me and he said that, "Okay, hey Paco, let's do it formally. I am going to give you, 8% of the entire organization." So I said, first of all, it doesn't matter, all right. But then I thought that 8%, I mean, hello, it was my money. Everything was mine. I'm the one who, I in fact lost my house also, by the way, in Bombay. Lost my house, my two cars, and about 2.5, 3 crores of cash. All right, everything gone. So I said, okay. I mean, I told a guy, 8% is too less here. I mean, at least, So he said, okay, 10%. I said, okay. So he took out a document which had 10% written and all that. I signed it and gave it. My spouse, and he left. No, I didn't leave, sorry. I went down to have a smoke or something. When I came back, my wife was quiet. And he said bye and all that, and he left. When he left, that time my spouse told me that, do you know that he had two more agreements of 12% and 15% ready in his bag? I said, how do you know? He said, when you left from here, all right, he was bragging about it. Interesting, isn't it? So who was the bigger fool out there? Me. No founders agreement. All right, so be careful. Right. I talk to him even now. He takes advice from me about running my own company, by the way, now. All right. And it's only after I left I realized that there were a lot of so as to say bad debts, all right, which we had written off, which suddenly got unwritten. And suddenly there was cash in the organization. But yeah, I lost everything. I calculated that I must have lost total of about 6 odd crores, 5 to 6 odd crores that time, which I never knew I had. I never knew I had. But I sold up everything. And I was back to zero when I came to Bangalore in the summer of 2017. In fact, this month I complete 6 months. Why I'm telling you this is, in this entire set of legal compliances, this is the one which is going to hurt you the most. It will hurt you the most. And Chandan is showing me a clock. But yes, you need non-disclosure agreement, employment agreement. You need DIN or directors identification numbers. Okay, again, a very tricky thing. And forming a company nowadays and getting an approval from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is even more difficult since the time Infosys has taken over the TCS uh, software system. All right, nothing is working right now. Nothing is working. If you want to get your company registered, nothing is working. Any name you give that is this name available, it comes back with a reason why it is not available. Since when does it take 3 days for incorporation, Vivek? Right now MCA has a problem. I mean, right now, in the sense, in the last 1 week, I know, because my case has been pending for about a month or so. The Infosys guys have made a mess out of stuff. But if you're saying in the which now before Jan, it is to take 3 days, right? Vivek, correct me. Before Jan, yes. So before Jan, it is to take 3 days. But now it is like going in forever. For example, you need to choose your name. So it's very important to understand that there is a legal name and a trade name. A trade name is a brand name. All right. So for example, you may have a company called GSV Industries Private Limited, but your brand name may be Love Spell. Okay. Yeah, all the mess which has happened due to the new portal, which was Infosys has gone ahead and created a mess. So yeah, it's there. So very interestingly, I was trying to search. I was trying to set up a company called Indus Valley, Foods or something like that. They said it's not available. I tried out this combination, that combination, this, that. Then finally, I was so pissed off. I said, Idiotic Brothers Corporation, and it said this name is not available. Then I gave up. Okay, I said nothing is going to happen in this zone. So, but you have to keep that in mind that it may take time. Sometimes, when they had handed over the entire software system to Infosys, when it, about some couple of years back on the income tax, for 2 years it was in a mess. All right. So similarly, you got to keep that in mind that it does not work in that speed. Okay. Yeah, 2021. That's right, Vivek. So just keep all of these things in mind. You can hear about all of these things available on the internet, all right, which you can do. Small scale enterprises, getting your Udyam registration for specifically, specific industries will have specific legal compliances. For example, food will have food service, FSSAI license and all of that. So, but very important, your founders agreement, your legal entity formation, and pros and cons of every legal entity is very, very important. Founders agreement, very important. Don't go into it without having the founders agreement in place. All right. Nothing is sacrosanct. You can get backstabbed anytime, and it is not because your spouse is not spouse, your co-founder is like that, but anything can go wrong. So be careful. All right. I wanted to just highlight the importance of these legal compliances. You will go down the drain if you don't take care of it. Now the question comes is managing risk. All right. And what I always say, don't ignore, but at the same time, don't panic. Don't discuss or analyze too much, but take action to mitigate. What are the kind of risks which you might come across? All right. You may come across product. And so there are, a couple of categories that we've gone ahead and created. Let's say, for example, 5 of them. All right. Product, talent, marketing, funding, scalability. And every risk you need to be aware of does not mean that you should not become an entrepreneur. Risk is there even in walking on the road. Risk is also there in sitting on the chair. All right. The chair may break and you may, hurt yourself. So risk will always be there, but you need to know what the risk is. You need to know what is the impact of the risk, and you need to know how will you mitigate the risk. That's very important. Okay. So for example, in case of product, version 1.0 has not been tested with more than 1,000 simultaneous users. App may crash due to overloading, which people say, how will it happen, boss? So many, how will it happen? I had an edtech company, if you remember, I told you, all right, which was acquired, and we made our money. Now that edtech company, when we were doing the testing, someone went ahead and told me, our first deal was a B2B deal. And the client told me that, why are you worried? We will not have more than, what is it called? Um, huh. This was a concurrency testing. That means at any one point of time, how many people's load can it take? So someone told me that you will not have more than 500 concurrent users. You may have 20,000 overall users, but you may not have more than 500 concurrent users. I said okay. I, for some reason, so one has to deal with AWS or Amazon Web Services to go ahead and increase the load and all that. So I, anyways, told my tech guy that do it to take. You should be able to handle at least 2,000 people. So he said, "Sir, why you don't require it, sir?" I said, "No, I have a gut feeling something may go wrong. It is better to have it at 2,000, all right, but not at 500. Specifically in the first 2 weeks. After first 2 weeks, we will go ahead and see where we are wanting to stabilize." First day, as all historical softwares is concerned, my software crashed. Why? Because out of 20,000 people whom we had onboarded from the back end, for some stupid reason, HR went ahead and announced that we are going to have what is it called? A prize of some stupid pension, whatever it is. There were 7,000 people concurrent. You ask any edtech guy, 20,000 total users may say 7,000 concurrent ho sakta hai? They will say, "Are you mad?" But I had 7,000. Murphy's Law, bloody thing cracked. Everyone started shouting. I said, "Boss, you told me 500. There are 7,000 people there, 14 times. How will I handle?" Obviously, things are crashing. If you've seen the web series Physics Wala, all right, that's exactly what happened. The whole thing went for a toss. The whole infrastructure went for a toss. I didn't know what to do, because by the time you raise the AWS request and the entire thing comes into place and all that, by that time some people, thousands of people have come in and gone. So, but you should know how do you handle it. So mitigating, stage onboarding, the onboarding of new users, it has to be staged over 2 months. Here they are saying 2 months. So the load testing happens, fixes are being worked upon and all of that. It is a mess. Talent. All right, we need 2 Android developers and an experienced UX person. Without them, user experience may get compromised. Probability is high that you will not get it. And if you have it, they'll leave. That probability is high. Impact is also very high. So how did I handle it in my tech company? Because I had this real problem. I also went ahead and hired college interns. In fact, my entire structure, my entire product was built by 28 engineering interns from engineering colleges in Navi Mumbai. And these are engineering colleges to whom no one would go. I went to them and they were more than happy to help me out. And they did it for 3 months. 3 months they worked on it. All right. So you need to figure out, and I'm going to leave it at that. You need to figure it out that, of course, there'll be risks, but how do you mitigate them? Okay, is important. And when you have a risk, always look at what is the probability of the risk occurring and what is the impact of that risk. All right. Is it as high as the organization shutting down? Founders agreement. Probability? Low. Impact? Don't forget it. Okay? All right. So keep that in mind. Now, all right. So the question out here is that, look at the product one and, look at the funding one also. So we are bootstrapped, but our current cash will run out in 3 months. Without an external fundraise, we will not be able to pay salaries in June. I have faced this problem. Probability is medium, but impact was very high. All right. So founders to pool in more personal funds, discuss a loan with the bank, prepare a formal pitch deck to begin fundraising activities. And fundraising does not happen overnight. All right. All those are foolish stories, and people say that, I went there, I made a pitch, and they gave me a 15 lakh check or a 30 lakh check. It doesn't work that way. At least it has not worked with me. And you may say that I'm sounding very pessimistic, but I think I'm more realistic because I've been there, done that, made money, lost more money, made less money. All right. So I can tell you, it doesn't work like that. You need to be you need to be at it. It does work, but you need to be at it. You need to get that thing going. Okay. All right. So that is about managing risk. The next, very quickly, is SWOT. And I'm sure we all know what SWOT is. Why you need to know this? You need to know this because this is something which will always tell you what are the things that you're missing out. All right. There are helpful components of SWOT and there are harmful components of SWOT. There are internal components of SWOT, external components of SWOT. And so strength is internal and it's helpful. So their strength, is coding, social media marketing, cracking exams. This is that example of that AR/VR company, okay? But it is internal and helpful. What are internal and harmful? All right. For them, the weakness was that they were not extroverts to meet up with new people. They were not able to deliver on deadlines. And they were unhealthy food practices that they were going ahead and, adopting. So you would wonder, how the heck does it matter? Unhealthy food practices. How does it matter? So let me give you a very brief example. Anil Ambani, in the year 1982, was representing. He was the flashy one. He is the flashy one, right? And in the Dhirubhai and Mukesh and Anil equation, all right, Mukesh was the hard worker on the field guy. Anil was the flamboyant one. Public relations, sales, jet setting, going here, going there, getting married to a film actor and all of that. So he was the one who used to meet up with all funding agencies and bankers and all of that. In 82, Reliance was bidding for a very large loan for its refinery, and the bankers, the syndicate of bankers who came, they refused to give loan to Reliance. So Dhirubhai intervened, all right, and spoke to the managing directors of these banks, not to those guys who had come in, but the managing directors of the bank. And they said, and the managing director of one of the banks actually said that how can we give money to an organization whose one of the key directors does not even know how to take care of himself? Anil Ambani used to be fat and unhealthy eating practices, sleeping practices, partying and all of that. That is the time when Anil Ambani took to exercising and doing marathon. So he may have 100,000 different, wrong habits that he may have. But one good habit that he has is that he maintains his health. Mukesh Bhai does not do that much. All right. In fact, he does not even exercise beyond a little walking and all that. And I know that because I work with him. But Anil Bhai is always in the front when it comes to marathon because unhealthy food practices will also keep your funding agencies away from yourself. So you need to ensure that you are having healthy, food practices. It's very, very important. All right. Now, what are the opportunities? And this is now we are looking at external. All right. So my startup idea, my the incubator support, seed capital, Rumis as co-founder, these are opportunities which are available. All right. So that is very, very important, and those need to be capitalized upon. But what are the threats? Competition for internships. All right, that's a threat. Family pressure for higher studies. As a youngster, there might be cases where there might be family pressure for a variety of things. So it may be higher studies in some cases. It may be marriage in some cases. In India, it still happens. All right. It may be at one point of time when I wanted to be an entrepreneur, one of the many times. My mother, who's one of the biggest propounder of me to be an entrepreneur, once did mention that you need to be careful because you've got children who are growing up, and we just had our daughter that time, and she says you've got a lot of responsibilities coming up, not because she's a daughter, but now because you've got two children. All right, so got to keep that in mind. Yeah. So how do I go and mitigate that? So excellent sales staff with strong knowledge of good existing product, good range of product, good internal communication, reputation for innovation, all of these, all right, will actually help in strengthening your strengths. Okay. And similarly, why is this required? This is required. SWOT analysis is required just to ensure family pressure for settled life. You're right, Vivek. All right. Uh, I don't know what is settled life, by the way. I think me and my wife have been more unsettled since the time that we got married. Not because we fight all the time, but because we both are bloody entrepreneurial. We see everything and we look at an opportunity. And someday, if I get a chance, I will tell you how in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, all right, we now have a new idea and a new opportunity that we are also chasing. Okay. This has come out of trying to mentor someone, by the way. All right. So yeah, family pressure for settled life and all that. So now coming back to SWOT, why do you need to do this? Is because SWOT analysis. Yeah. So SWOT analysis is important to go ahead and figure out where you are, and you need to be truthful about doing this. You cannot go ahead and give responses which you want to hear, or which your dad or mom or wife or brother or friend wants to hear. This has to be a mirror. If you are not able to draw out this mirror, you are going to be in pure thick shit. All right. So just keep that in mind. Now, we have, we don't have time right now. So Chandan, would you suggest that rather than extending this right now, we take up the innovation curve in the coming session, because otherwise I will have to rush through it and it will not get over.
Yeah, but the
Chandan, are you
intro
there?
we can give. Hi, Paco. We can give the intro of the same, and then we can discuss in our next session. Anyways, the next section is
AMA, elevator and AMA.
AMA. Yeah, pitch and demo, or demo pitch and AMA. So we can have a detailed session on that.
So before I move forward, guys, what I want you to do, I will only take about 2-3 minutes, but I'm going to give you something. Okay, I'm going to give you one second. Where is the share button? Okay. Nope. Do you see my screen?
Yes, is the PPT, Paco.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So, first of all, guys, without any delay, please please copy this YouTube link and give me a thumbs up that you've copied it. It's very important that you copy it, and it's very important that you keep it safely, because I want you to see it after this session. Okay? Yeah, what about the others? Sagar, Parul, I don't see you interacting. Are you there? Not there? I don't know. Sagar, Rajendra, Sriharsha, Bharti. All right, good. Picked it, very good. All right. Now, what I'm going to, why I told you to go through that is because I want you to, what we want to discuss with you is, you remember in our lean canvas, where the first block was there, we were talking about early adopters, right? Remember early adopters we talked about? Raj's video also talked about early adopters. So I'm going to talk about what is this innovation adoption curve, all right? Who are early adopters? Who are innovators? What is the role that they play when it comes to launching your product? Who are early majority, late majority, and laggards, and what are their indicators that they are there in your cycle, and how does this pan out with the product life cycle? Okay, so I'm sure you're aware about the product life cycle, right? Which goes up and comes down like a bell curve. Now, how does that work with the innovation dispersion curve or innovation adoption curve, as it is called. Okay. So, and this video that I've asked you to watch, it's a 4-minute video. It is by Jeffrey Moore himself, all right, and wherein he explains the innovation adoption curve using a beautiful example of a video which you might have seen on YouTube, all right. So it's very important. How are innovators important to you and your GTM strategy? How are early adopters, and what are their characteristics and how are they important? How do you take care of them? What is early majority and why is early majority the bulk of your sales? What are those who will actually give you the highest revenue because they're the ones who will not ask for discounts. Then you got late majority who are the late adopters, all right, who are the ones who are looking for some kind of discount to go ahead and buy your product. And then you got laggards, who are like, now this entire 100%, 2.5, 13.5, 34, 34, and 16 is the you remember TAM, SAM, SOM that we talked about, all right? And SOM was basically the not just the addressable market, but the market which can be obtained. It's an obtainable market. So that means those are the set of people who are not the entire population of India, but those are the people who will actually buy your product. Now, within that SOM, you will or obtainer market, you will have innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. And how do we handle this? And how does this, reflect on the product life cycle, which also goes like this and comes down? That's a bell curve as well. All right. And therefore, how will it affect your GTM strategy, not just now, but keeping in mind that these are the various stages that will come about in the life cycle of your organization and in the life cycle of your product. Therefore, what you need to do to ensure that you are taking the right steps right now, because you do too much right now, you will flatten your curve. You do too little right now, the curve may not even get formed. Right? So what is that optimal level? There is no formula. There's a lot of there is a lot of supposition, theorem, and gut feel which goes into it. And that's the reason you're an entrepreneur, right? So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about one thing which I did talk about earlier, that we're going to talk about product life cycle and that how it goes ahead and impacts an individual like me as well, or a corporate executive. We're going to talk about that. So next time we are not going to spend more than 20 minutes or 15 minutes, all right, to complete this. My request, guys, come in time. All right. Sagar, you're not saying anything. Are you not there? Sagar, my young friend. Parul is, of course, not in a mood to talk to me. That's why she's not talking to me. All right. And even Sagar is not picking up. I don't know what's happened to him. All right. So I'm going to leave it at this stage. Okay. Chandan, is there anything that you need to, you want to add in terms of actions that need to be taken? Otherwise, we can close the session. Guys, my apologies because of this internet connectivity. My flow also got a little shaken up, and that's why we missed out on the last 10 minutes. But I'm going 10-15 minutes. I'm going to cover this up in the next session. And so do come in the next session and do come. Huh? Don't vanish. Okay. Thank you very much. And Chandan, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Peko. Okay, guys, as Peko just mentioned about the product innovation curve, it is worldwide. Every organization they follow. It's not just it is developed only for startups, but rather it has been accepted, it has been used by all the large companies, big companies, and we are going to discuss in detail in the large companies. There's a very famous top brand. How are they doing it? What are the strategy? Then you will be able to connect to all these points what just Paco mentioned. Who are the innovators? Who are the early adopters? And all the bulk of the entire bulk of this is really important. Go through the video that Paco just suggested and which is on the YouTube. This will give you more information so that we can have a very detailed and effective discussion, and it will help each of us to understand why do we need to know about this particular concept and how can we apply it not just in our startup journey but also if you are working or joining somewhere else. Okay. Now I would request Chetan to quickly take us through the platform, and Chetan has already given the journal and feedback link. Guys, please go ahead and uh, start responding to the feedback as well as the journal questions. Over to you, Chetan. We are able
Great.
to see.
Thank you, Chandan. So everybody, the link will take you guys here to my journal. So this is basically the usual process that we do. Request you all to complete your journal by clicking on this link, session 7 journal and feedback questions. Um, Please fill your name here. This is compulsory. As you guys know, this will help you get your certification, your introductory certifications. Please fill in your name and fill out this journal. This will help us gauge you and also help you get your certificates, basically. Do let me know once you're done. It'll be helpful so that I can take you through the other part of the space. Great. Thank you, Bharti. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Rajinder. Request everybody to do this because this is very important. If you guys won't fill this journal, then you might not get the certification. So Sagar and Parul, please fill out this journals. And just in case if you guys haven't filled out your earlier session journals, you can find them here in my journal. All you need to do is scroll down. You'll find all your journals here from session 1 all the way to session 7. And you can find your session material here. Whatever happened today, you can find it all here. So you can just revise just in case you guys missed out on something. You can come here, just go through it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ping Paco by going to the chat, or you can just ping it on the community chat, and Paco or one of us will get back to you with the answers accordingly. And if you've missed out on any of the previous sessions, you will find all the session material here, including the session recording. Right? For the current session, you will find the recording tomorrow in the morning. That's for session 7. We've mentioned it here. So just in case you want to revise it, you can log in tomorrow and check for the session materials here. You can also find your takeaways for session 7. Right? So please feel free to go through them and complete them accordingly. And as you guys know, the community page is available. If you want to share something with your peers, you have something on your mind, please come and share that information here so that everyone will get to know what's happening. You can also see all the other information are shared here. All right. And we also have a featured section. So you can see that the next session is on April 25th. If you haven't RSVP, please feel free to RSVP for the next session. And do let us know if you have any concerns. We'll be happy to help you on the chat here. Right? So you guys can, I hope you guys know that we also have DM, so that if you want to personally ping Paco or Chandan or me, you can go ahead and ask us personal questions here, and we'll be happy to assist you accordingly on the platform or about any questions that you may have about the session. Um, Once would be enough, Bharti. You don't have to submit them twice. Once would be more than enough. Thank you. So, do you guys have any questions for us, or if you have any thoughts that you'd like to share about today's session, please feel free to let us know before we end the session. We'd be happy to know your thoughts as to how today's session went and what you guys have in mind. He needs 2 certificates. True that. Everybody wants more certificates in life. All right, guys. Thank you, Rajendra. Thank you. And I hope you guys have filled out this journal, Parol and Sagar. It's very important. Like I've said, please do complete them. And looking forward to seeing you guys on 25th for the next session. Over to you, Chandan.
Okay, thank you. Chetan, thank you so much. Thank you each of everyone for your wonderful time. And see you on 25th. As the Paco mentioned, and I just mentioned a while ago, please go through this video because that is really, really critical, and this is going to help us in our uh, career, whether we start a venture or we are going to join any organization. This is going to be helpful, and I have used in my career as well. I mean, the same innovation curve I have seen it. Maybe in our next discussion, I can share some of my examples. Paco will share some of his examples, which will uh, make you feel that yes, these are the concepts that we are talking about. It is not only for startups, but we can apply it in our other career path as well. Okay. Okay. Thank you so
True
much.
that.
Have a good night. Yeah. And see you on 25th.